Cool. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are watching this from, in this video I am going to look at the 3 ways of configuring your method. We might have been looking at one or two of the ways of configuring our model. Does that make sense? So today the most important method of configuring our model that we are going to look, it's that of a Fluent API, which is basically a set of methods that we call that the set of methods defined by the model building type, and those methods allows us to be able to configure our model. So now here's the thing here. EntityFramework Core uses metadata model to describe how the your application's entity types are mapped to the underlying database. So this model, to do that, to map your application's entities to the underlying database, it uses what is called a conventions. There are a set of conventions which are provided on the outset by the EntityFramework Core. So the framework is going to use these conventions to actually map your entities with the underlying database. But these conventions may not be appropriate for your application. You may want to modify how your entities actually map with the underlying database, and you can modify or customize this mapping of your application's entities with the underlying database, and you can do that in 2 different ways. Using the mapping attributes, which are also normally or more often called as data notations. So you can apply data notations on your entities or the properties of your entities, or calls to the model builder methods, also known as Fluent API. The EntityFramework Core also have a model builder type that has the methods that will allow you to fluently configure your model. So these methods are called inside a method called onModelCreating, which basically is the method that the framework is going to call when it creates your model, or before it just creates your model. So you will actually call all the methods of model builder within that method, so that the configurations that you want to be applied can be applied before your model is created. So when a model is created with all the configurations that we make. We're going to see how to actually configure, or how to use the Fluent API. We have looked at the data annotations. For example, we applied required and data type. We have been using this the data annotation. So here we're going to look at how to actually use the Fluent API to configure our model. So let's go. So Fluent API is basically a method that is defined within application DB context. So you're going to need to override that method. That is, you're going to have to provide your own implementation of that method. So this is what we're going on model creating. So I'm going to leave that that method that is provided by on model creating, and call the base method, so that it does whatever it does. So here what we are going to do, I want us to go to the login. Let's look what entities do we have here. Okay, here we actually do not have any entity, unfortunately. Remember we said entities are the types. It's a collection of CLR types that are registered with the DB context. So here we don't have any method in our we don't have any type within our database context. We do have the ones that we provided by the identity DB context. So I think I should use one of them, and I said one of those is username. If you are following along, it's important that, let's say, entity. So the entity that we are looking for should be user. Let's say user. Wait a minute. We don't have this. Okay. You know what? Or because we already have, let's say, application user. Okay. So now what we want to do, we're going to select a property within that user, the application user. Let's select a property of one. So we say p dot which one we're going to select. I want one that we can change. Lockout, normalized username. I want something that phone number. Okay, so we select that property. So on that property, what we want to say require, we say it is required. We apply the required. Okay, yeah. So what this means is exactly the same as applying the required attribute. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So this is how you use the Fluent API to actually configure your model. It's simple as that. It's not that complicated. You just use builder.entity. You specify the type of entity that you want to work with, and then you select property, and then you specify the property that you want to work with, and then you apply the attribute or configuration that you want to apply on that property. Does that make sense?